uses of modern English. But in order to give the medieval impact, Coleridge uses all these words deliberately. So as soon his hand dropped, he halts him with his glittering eye. The eyes are glittering. Just in two or three stanzas, it is being repeated. But this time, the magic is different, the persuasion is different. He does not require hands any longer. His eyes are adequate to capture the attention of the wedding guest, to hypnotize him so as to listen to his tale compulsorily and forcefully. Again, this is not a natural case when Ancient Mariner can capture the eyes of the wedding guest with his glittering eyes. It's a kind of the method of hypnotism which has been employed by Mariner to capture, to captivate wedding guest, to prevent him from attending the wedding ceremony at once. He halts him with his glittering eye. So when we talk about this setting, when we talk about the opening of this poem, there are few things very obvious. First, there is the presence of supernatural environment. Things are not normal, they are contextualized in a very different scenario. It brings us back to the attention of the medieval era when such kind of things were into practice and they were taken for just for a kind of routine matters. So yes, this is a supernatural environment which is being forced here by Coleridge to tell a tale of some extraordinary events which takes place on his journey. Of course, it has an abrupt beginning. That is one of the characteristics of traditional ballad. There is a mysterious mariner who is ancient, moreover, ancient because of his nature, the adjective which has been used by Coleridge here, and the use of arcane words that makes it completely different from the modern English which exists. So the mariner's tale begins here. Once he is able to capture the attention of the wedding guest, he has no choice except to go there, except to stop, except to listen to the tale. There was a ship, and he has no other option. He is totally mesmerized. He is totally hypnotized, and he doesn't have anything which he can think in terms of rationalism. Rationalism is beyond his concept, rationalism is beyond his limit, and he will have to listen to what Mariner has to say. He has no other choice. So the mariner's tale begins. The mariner's tale is something which is very, very important here, and before we discuss the themes and the style of the poem, it is necessary to see what actually the tale of mariner is. So they are going on the ship, they have some kind of the crew is with them and they are going southward. They have merrymaking when they embark on this long journey. Everybody is happy, and it's something which gives us the setting that the journey is going to be very pleasant and very full of adventures, but yes, happy adventures as reflected by this. But as soon as they embark on the journey, they sometimes spends and something happens, and that changes the course of the event, which is very, very important from the context, from the point of view of the poem. And now the storm blast came, and he was tyrannous and strong. He struck with his overtaking wings and chased us south along. So the storm was just waiting for this ship, and it was following it right from the moment it started for its journey. And now there came both mist and snow, and it grew wondrous cold, and ice mast high came floating by, as green as emerald. This event, this storm, this mist and snow, all these things symbolize the hard times which sheep and its crew are going to face. It's not an easy time. The mist and snow, because they are not possible to go anywhere, they are not possible to proceed from their the routine, the journey. It's very difficult for them, and therefore the storm is something which is going to bring some kind of calamity upon them. And when there is a snow, the height of this hard time is reflected in these lines. When Coleridge says, when the mariner tells his tale, he says, the ice was here, the ice was there, the ice was all around. It cracked and growled and roared and howled like noises in a swoon. So the musical calamity which is reflected in these lines is very, very symbolic. It suggests that the ice had captured, ice had dominated the entire movement of the ship, and it was really, really difficult to proceed from all these things. You see, the image which is reflected here is the entire ship is surrounded by the snow. They don't have any direction where they can go, they don't have any kind of scope where they can move to, or they can ask for some kind of help, because nobody was around, and it was such a difficult time they were getting into. Amidst all these difficult moments which they were facing, something happens, and that is not so, I can say, abnormal, because the appearance of albatross is a routine cause of matter when it comes to sheep and mariners and crew, because it is a seabird. It keeps appearing every now and then. It comes for some kind of food collecting, for eating something. So albatross's appearance is not abnormal or unusual here, and mariner is telling that albatross appeared. The symbolic significance of albatross is very important here, not as just a bird, but as symbolic significance of cross, Christ, holy Amin. It's a bird of some holy signs, and some good Amin happens when albatross appears, and everybody just entertains albatross for this very reason, that this is a bird of good Amin, and we should be having such kind of good Amin while you are going on such a disastrous, such a calamitous, such a difficult, such hard time journey on the ship. So albatross appears. At length did cross an albatross, thorough the fog it came, as if it had been a Christian soul, we held it in God's name. When there is no scope of escape, when the disaster is around everywhere, even a small sign can make you feel relief, can make you feel comfortable. And the same thing happened with the crew also. Everybody was just scared with this mist and snow and ice and the difficult times they were facing. And at this time, if albatross appeared, they welcomed this albatross as a Christian soul, something which was going to escape all these problems which they are facing right now, something which will bring some good sign, something which will bring some good weather, and these people will be prevented from these hard times. This is how albatross was held by the crew of the ship. And a good south wind sprung up behind, the albatross did follow, and every day for food or play came to the mariner's hollow. So as the ship was going ahead and albatross kept coming, everybody was entertaining, it was collecting food. So there was a kind of a friendly relation that took place between the crew of the ship and the albatross, and albatross too kept coming to mariner for some kind of food and other things. So this was a very, very usual thing, as I stated earlier. But then something happens, and a wedding guest who was just listening to all this tale of Mariner, at once he is fear stricken. He senses something unusual in those glittering eyes of Mariner, and out of fear, out of that kind of you can say some kind of fear, he asks, God save thee, ancient mariner, from the fiends that plague thee thus. Why lookest thou so? With my crossbow I shot the albatross. The mariner's or the wedding guest's response when the mariner is telling the tale, at once his color changes, the color of the face changes, and wedding guest is in a position to understand this, that something is wrong, and he asks wedding guest in between, why are you looking so much plagued with something, what happened? And then he answers that with my crossbow I shot the albatross. There was no reason why albatross was killed by Mariner. Even Mariner does not know why he killed albatross, but he felt like killing and therefore he killed. So the transgression had taken place. The sin had been committed, and this was a deliberate sin. Without any purpose, without any objective, the sin was committed, and the eyes, the glittering eyes of Mariner, the glowing face of the Mariner changes at once when he tells the discussion, the narration of the crime, and of course he is something which is a changed person right now when he is telling his tale. So the transgression, the sin has been committed. Now the question is, what was the response of the crew? The people who were with Mariner, they, how did they respond? Because they were already in a very difficult time, they were facing some hard times, and in such a scenario, as is mentioned that the albatross is a Christian soul, and killing of albatross, what could be the response of the crew? This is very important to know here, because when when the sin is committed, the response matters a lot, even from a low perspective also. So to say, crews had an opportunist attitude towards this crime. Let's see how it happens. There are two examples which I have quoted here. The first one is, and I had done a hellish thing, and it would work them woo. For all ever I had killed the bird that made the breeze to blow. Arach, said they, the bird to slay that made the breeze to blow. So you see that the initial response of the crew was very, very aggressive. They believed that no, it's not a right thing which has been done by the mariner. The albatross was a Christian soul, and you have, by killing albatross, you have done a kind of hellish thing, something which is bound to go to hell for this reason. And they believed that the albatross was responsible for blowing the breeze. You know, we had come out of the time when there was a mist and snow and ice and the hard times, and it was albatross who brought some good signs, some good weather. And how could you kill such a bird of good omen? So you are the wretched, you are a kind of person who should not be doing this kind of thing, but you have done this and the sin has been committed. This is the initial response of the crew when they found that the albatross is killed. But this perspective significantly undergoes a massive change when something happens again. And what happened? After the albatross is killed, some good weather again turned up. You see, in the other lines it is there, nor dim nor red like God's own head, the glorious sun uprised. This glorious sun uprised out of the mist and snow and ice, everything. No. So the good weather had already come, the sun has already risen, it showed its own blessings, and then all ever I had killed the bird that brought the fog and mist. You see the difference between these two quotations, these two lines. One said that made the breeze to blow, and in the next lines he says that brought the fog and mist. So breeze to blow and fog and mist are just two occasions that change from the weather's perspective, and we should accept it as a kind of a routine change in terms of weather. And when you are in this on the sea voyage, these things are natural. But the problem with the crew was that they associated the killing of albatross with the changing season that was taking place. So first, when the breeze was blowing, albatross was a sign of good omen, a bird of good omen. And when the good weather comes up, then they believed that it was just because the albatross was killed who brought fog and mist. It was right, they said, such birds to slay that bring the fog and mist. And in this manner, this crew justified the action of mariner. And in this manner, when you are justifying the cause of the action just for a trivial reason that believes that you are supporting the evil, if you see the Christianity perspective, they were equally responsible for the killing of albatross because they justified the cause of mariner. They justified that, yeah, it was right to kill the albatross. And for this reason, crew is equally responsible for what is going to happen in future. So the albatross is killed, and the justification of the action has already been done in the favor of mariner. But there is a cosmic action, there is a cosmic justice which is waiting for the mariner, for the ship, and for the crew also, and they are already in waiting for such reasons. So the crime has been committed, it has to be punished. And in order to punish the crime, there are means because there is a presence of some cosmic power, the crime has to be punished. And it happens here. Day after day, we struck nor breath nor motion.